Jaclyn Forbes started her YouTube channel when she was only 16 years old. Now, nearly 10 years later, she comes onto the podcast to share all of her experiences of growing a YouTube channel in a saturated and crowded niche such as makeup. One of the things we touch on is the growing popularity in short form content, like on TikToks and Reels, and now on YouTube as Shorts. She talks about how Shorts reinvigorated her content and how she's strategically using Shorts on her channel to help her grow. Hello, my name is Erika Vieira. I'm a YouTube strategist and coach, having helped hundreds of women behind the scenes through my Zero to Influence YouTube Bootcamp, my one-on-one YouTube coaching, and my strategic channel management grow on YouTube. And on this channel, I interview well-known female content creators like Jaclyn, where we pull back the curtain to reveal what it's really like to be successful on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe because I have new interviews and videos for you every single week. Enjoy this interview with Jaclyn. Mwah. Well, hello, Jaclyn. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so pumped.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. I know there's a lag here on the computer on the screen. Jaclyn and I were trying to figure it out, but we couldn't, so we're just going to go with it. And hopefully
This is the story of my life. I feel like I always have tech issues in the most inconvenient times. And I'm no tech wizard. I know how to make my gear work when it's working normal. But when things go awry, I'm just like, not for me.
I'm the same way. I'm not a tech guru. That's not my thing. So we'll make the best of it. I can see you. I can hear you. And the most important is the audio, actually, for an interview.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So if you see a 10-second delay for my reaction, that is technology. I don't claim that.
Yeah. But it's actually, you're looking actually better on my end at this point, the more we're going. So,
perfect.
Yeah, on my end, it's actually looking pretty good. All right. So why don't we get started with you sharing with our listeners and viewers what got you onto YouTube so many years ago?
Yeah, so I was the biggest YouTube obsessed human. Like, I must have discovered it. I must have been in grade 7 at the time. So I was like 11, 12. And I don't even know the initial video that I saw. Me and my cousins would always watch some silly videos, like the old OG viral, Charlie bit my finger, things like that. But one day I must have just been on YouTube and I stumbled upon a beauty video, and one video led to the other, and I literally became obsessed. I would spend all my free time watching those videos. And I always knew that I wanted to start a YouTube channel one day. At that time, that was kind of before the age of Instagram and all of that. And my parents were very protective and strict about, even if I had Facebook, my parents had to have my passwords and everything. So I knew I didn't want to do it anytime soon. But down the line, I knew I wanted to start a channel. So that was kind of the initial, I guess, allure to it. But always growing up, too, I loved editing videos. Even all my cousins, we would always make little silly videos, or for school projects, whenever you get the choice to, either you had to do an essay or a poem or make a video version of it, I would always pick the video option. So I think it was the perfect love of all of my different creative avenues coming into one. And then when I was 16, I was finally okay, I'm ready. I've been watching it long enough. I've studied everyone's channels. I know what I want to do. And I can't explain it. I just knew in my soul that I needed to do it.
Oh, wow. And so how old are you now?
So I'm 24 now. Okay. And I started when I was 16. So it's getting closer to 10 years than not 10 years, which that kind of freaks me out when I put it into that perspective.
Yeah. And so starting YouTube at such a young age, you were still in high school, and now it's your career. So at what point did you make the decision that you were going to make this your career?
Interesting. So at that time, I did have some insight into the fact that it could be a job. I remember watching people like Bethany Moda. She had her clothing line with Aeropostale at the time, and seeing YouTubers that I watched kind of transfer over into the more traditional world. There was also this YouTuber I loved called Megan Hart's Makeup. Her name was Megan Parkin, and she was doing things with 17 magazine, which I was subscribed to 17 magazine. I thought it was so cool. So I remember flipping through the magazine and seeing her, and I was like, oh my God, this was someone that I thought only existed in this digital world. So I knew there was potential for crossover, but that was, again, before the time of influencing and ads and properly making money. So I knew there was something special there, and I knew if I watched all these YouTube videos and all my friends did, that there was a market for it, I guess.
Yeah.
So when I was 16, I took it seriously from day one, always with the foresight that if a brand ever saw this, I wanted them to take me seriously. And I always felt the need to kind of have some, I guess, level of professionalism to it, even though I was so young. And looking back, I watch my videos now and I'm like, oh my God, I was trying so hard to be proper and say all the right things. And which, again, you learn as you go. But yeah, from the get-go, I kind of knew, I guess, that it could be a job.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had that instinct at 16 years old, like even like, 8, 9, almost 10 years ago, that think, hey, this could actually amount to something really serious. So then take me back to when your channel first took off. Did it happen right away or did it take a little bit of time? And what was surrounding that circumstance there?
Yeah, I mean, I was really lucky. I feel like people always talk about like right time, right place. And I feel like it was that sweet spot in YouTube where it was a bit easier to grow, and I had the time in the sense that I was actually on my gap year. I had finished high school a year early. So that's when I kind of decided to start my YouTube channel, because I was out of high school, because I still felt a bit like YouTube was a bit weird still at the time, whereas now everyone's posting things and sharing things online. But at that time, I still, despite being very confident and sure of myself, I still felt a bit of hesitation. So during that gap year, I posted that video. And I don't, it's so weird now looking back. I'm sure I could like scroll through my analytics. I think that first video, it must have got maybe 5,000 to 10,000 views in the first like 48 hours of me posting it. And I remember I never made it private. I shared it on my personal Instagram and like my Facebook and my Twitter, so all my old friends from school could see it. So I think maybe there was a little bit of curiosity from people in my lives naturally, and maybe just getting lucky with the algorithm at that time. But I was pretty lucky. I think within the first month or two, I hit 10,000 subscribers. And yeah, looking back, I can't remember exactly, but I think it just kind of naturally gradually snowballed. And there was not like a viral first video or anything like that. I was posting every other day. I was obsessed and had nothing else to do with my time. So I posted every other day for probably 2.5, 3 months straight. So there was a lot of videos that were coming out at the time.
Wow. So what were you in that first video, or those first few videos? What were those videos about?
So it's so funny. My very first video was a what's in my bag video, and I watched that back. It's funny. I've never deleted any of my videos, so you can see the full archive of everything. And I think it is cool to see the progression.
I think so too. Some people delete their old videos. It's like, why? I think it's so cool to keep them up.
No, it is funny now in hindsight and looking back. You're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember I asked, my mom was like, what do you want as a graduation gift from high school? And I asked for a DSLR camera. And silly me, I didn't like learn how to do it before I decided the day that I was going to film my first video.
Oh yeah.
So it's like kind of out of focus. The lighting's so weird. Like I didn't have any background really in it. So you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so funny because it happens gradually, your growth over time. But now looking from a current day video to that, you're like, it's insane, the growth. And then the next one was maybe like a Lush haul, very like 2014 beauty guru era-esque videos. So very fashion and beauty focused.
Yeah, that is so cool. So then did you go to university or school? Did you just kind of go all in on your YouTube channel?
So yeah, this happened in my gap year, and I was kind of in the process. Like I was supposed to go to university that year, but since I graduated high school early, I was 16, I wasn't emotionally mature, ready enough to go. So my parents said, that's fine, you can defer a year. But something about the university program, it was probably the best of the university programs for me, but I still knew it wasn't right. So during that maybe 6-month mark of my gap year, I was like, okay, that 6 months flew by, and in 6 months I'll be in university. I know that's not right for me. So I had this weird moment talking with my family, and my brother actually said this to me because my mom had danced around the idea of going to makeup school, which was weird because I don't really know my hesitation, because now it makes so much sense. I was super artistic. I obviously started a channel being a beauty guru at the time, but for some reason it wasn't in my point of it. It wasn't in my vision. But then my brother said to me, he's like, you just started a YouTube channel about makeup. Why would you not go to school for makeup if that's your passion? And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. So I took a tour of it's called CMU. It was the best experience ever. It's like a short and condensed college of makeup art and design. You have you get a degree out of it. And, you get a diploma. But it was the best experience of my life. It was short and sweet, which is what I wanted. I didn't want to be in school for 4 years. And every single day I woke up and was so excited to go and learn. It was so hands-on, and my parents were happy because I went to post-secondary, and it was the best experience of my life, and it went hand in hand with my YouTube
channel.
Yeah. So fun. I remember we would be saying like the special effects or prosthetics segments of my makeup school, and I would be racing home to go recreate it and film a tutorial for my channel of what I just learned. One, kind of to document what I was learning, because I was like, oh, this is a new technique, I don't want to forget it. But then also because I wanted to make a cool video about it. So it was like the perfect combination of timing of everything. It really was. Yeah,
it's so funny because I do think, but that was like, several years ago at that point. What was that, like 6 years ago? But I do think this concept of like a traditional 4-year university after high school, I think that it's losing some of that, not because it's always going to be prestigious, to get those degrees, but that the necessity in a way, because there's so many ways to generate an income online and to have a YouTube channel and really have a very, very successful career without having to do that 4-year education, and maybe doing something like what you did, doing something like much more specific, like makeup, or maybe like some kind of a film program or something like that, that really directly gives you the skills to improve that career that you saw, like YouTube. And going to university will also help, in YouTube in different ways too. But I think that's not the only option anymore.
For sure. And I think as much as I had a slightly less traditional path, I mean, obviously, if you're going to school, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Very pro school, pro education.
Same.
And I think, of course, there's certain jobs that you need to go to university and get that specific diploma and degree for, which is like, of course, go ahead and do that if that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. But I do agree that there's like a culture shift and people's eyes are opened more to a slightly non-traditional route, or, building a career from scratch, whether it be online. There's so much more knowledge out there and information online. So I always have this belief that if you could go to school and do all the right things, but if you don't have the personal drive, your dream might not come to life. But you could also not go to school, and if you still, again, if the job doesn't require a certain degree, mm-hmm. if you have that personal fire in you, I think you'll still get to where you want to get regardless.
I agree. And if you don't go to school and you don't have that personal drive, you won't go anywhere anyways. Like, you have to have that personal drive is so important, no matter what you do.
It is so hard though. I think back, like, I remember I was so stressed at that time. It's so daunting to be told when you're 14, 15, you have to start taking certain classes to make sure that you have all the right prerequisites to go into your program. And that's a lot as a 14, 15-year-old to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. I felt like I had a lot of different passions and clear hobbies, and I still struggled so much. So I couldn't imagine someone that was maybe lacking some of that identity, or it's so, I do not miss that time in my life. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I think it is difficult to figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to school thinking I wanted to do like journalism, and I realized I didn't want to. So it's just like, it's kind of like it's very difficult to make that decision. I mean, people still in their 20s and 30s are still trying to figure out what they want to do, Like,
and again, talking about like culture shifts too, I feel like it's much more accepted and common for people to change their past. Like, I think at least our younger generation is much more about, if your heart's not in it, like, mm-hmm. don't stick in that job for 40 years just because that's the right thing to do. Find a way to make a pivot and start a new career. And I think that's totally, I think that should be encouraged. And it sure maybe is different, but who wants to spend their whole life doing something that they've realized the passion has died out for, right?
Yeah, and it's like, I work with a lot of YouTubers. I run different YouTube channels. And right before your interview, I interviewed a woman that I worked with. She went through my program, my boot camp, and my YouTube coaching, and I think she's 52, 53 years old, and she was a photographer before, but she was looking for another career path that allowed her to be more flexible, not to have be in one location. And here she is in her 50s, starting a brand new YouTube channel, and she has 100,000 subscribers, and she's like, oh my God, I never in a million years thought I could be doing something like this. So it's like, totally. It's really incredible, I think. So going back to your story, you went to makeup school. It sounds like you have a lot of positive encouragement from your family, which is huge. That's amazing. I love hearing that, and that I think that's a wonderful thing that you have that. And so now you have this makeup school thing. Now, where did that take your YouTube channel?
So it's so interesting, because I think now looking back, I'm so grateful that I have that and that professional experience. And I think it does in some ways kind of set me apart maybe from other people in the beauty space, because I can say I actually am a professional makeup artist. When I finished school, I started working in the film and TV world as a makeup artist at first, and I was really fortunate to work on a show right away, which is Emmy nominated and Emmy award winning, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
And they actually won some awards for makeup and costume and all. It was amazing. So I really am so grateful for that experience. I was an assistant makeup artist, and the key makeup artist, Jenna, she was the absolute sweetest and kind of took me under her wing. And looking back, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was doing at all. I can't believe that I survived. Like, I mean, you know what you're doing, but you know the whole saying, fake it till you make it. Like, I was so young. I was 17 walking on this set with all of these adults in this very intense environment, and it was the best thing ever, and I was so grateful for everyone that kind of believed in me. And I did that maybe for about 6 to 8 months. We did a season of the show, and then there was a movie spinoff of that. And then at that time, I was still kind of doing my YouTube channel, but anyone that's in the film and TV world, you know the grueling hours of that.
Crazy,
and you kind of commit your life to that. So I didn't have as much time to focus, so I was not posting every other day like I started off. Maybe I was posting 2 times a week, which for me was still good at the time. And then it was like this, again, timing. It was the show or the movie we did just wrapped. So we were looking at the next production. So I was thinking I would go on to assist on the next production. But at that time, I'd actually gotten an email from Much Music, which is like MTV Canada here in Toronto. And they had reached out and they were saying that they work with YouTubers and they have this roster. I didn't understand at the time that that was an MCN. I didn't even know what that was. But they had reached out to me, and it was kind of this weird crossroads. I was like, I either decide to stay in the film industry or I take this opportunity for Much and kind of go all in with my YouTube channel. And for me, it was this very nostalgic kind of full circle moment. Like, I grew up watching Much Music and I was obsessed with it. I would go to the Much Music Video Awards as a fan, like in the crowd. I was the biggest fangirl. And when I turned 18, you're allowed, like, they had this Much Music VJ search. And I always wanted to go on that. Like, that was my dream, to be a VJ.
Yeah.
And they must have been like the year before they stopped having VJs, and they kind of stopped doing that Much Music search. So I was like, oh no, they stopped it right like before the year I could apply. But what's so weird in hindsight is they had reached out, I think like 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. So in hindsight, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, all of the signs of the universe. But yeah, so I ended up taking a meeting with them, and I signed their multi-channel network and focused. And I think at the time I said, let's give YouTube a shot for a year and let's see if I can, make money off of it, and if it can be sustainable, and if I'm happy, and we'll take it year by year. And that was in 2016, I believe, and we've been taking it year by year ever since then.
So are you still with them?
So no, they actually dissolved their MCN. They dissolved it last spring. So it was, again, a bittersweet kind of moment, because I feel like they really watched me grow up. So that came to an end, but again, so grateful for all the experiences and the red carpets and all the interviews and all of the amazing opportunities I had through them. It literally fulfilled a childhood dream, and I can never thank them enough for all of that.
That's cool. So how many subscribers, do you remember how many subscribers you had when they sought you out?
I remember I was still quite small on YouTube. I maybe had 15 to 20,000 subscribers.
Okay.
So at that time, I thought it was so cool that this big, Bell Media is the biggest, company in Canada. And the fact that they were reaching out to me, I really thought, one, it did legitimize me. And I also thought in the eyes of brands that would, obviously look amazing. So I was so grateful that they really believed in me, which, again, in hindsight, obviously 15,000 to 20,000 is still a great number, but relatively small in comparison to the world of YouTube,
Yeah. And so what were the main benefits of being part of that MCN at the time? What did you gain from it in your career, your channel, all that?
Yeah, for me, it was a lot of the guidance, and I still felt very fresh in the world. And I started to make some YouTube friends and other, I guess, influencer friends at the time, but you didn't really call them influencers. So I was kind of starting to understand the world a bit more, but I didn't necessarily even know how brand partnerships worked. I knew brands would pay money for YouTubers to include their products, but I still didn't understand even the terms that I should be negotiating, anything like that. So it was so great to have that support from the team, the guidance there. They had a whole brand partnerships team, so they really supported.
So they brought you brands, and they helped negotiate all the brands too.
Yeah, for sure. I still did a lot of my deals independently, but they had a couple of big partners that would work through the company that they would bring me on for, and even things like building the confidence in terms of they would bring me on for panels for their local internal clients.
Yeah.
And again, at the time I was 18, so building the confidence to talk to brands like Coca-Cola and share insights was very valuable in building my confidence. But then also, opportunities that were more in the traditional world, I got to host the fashion feed for MTV Vieira at the MMVAs, which was a dream for me.
That's cool.
Because I was always very into pop culture and always loved hosting and interviewing and things like that. So those types of opportunities were I would have not been able to do that anywhere else. And even I got some talent to come on my YouTube channel, and we would film videos in their space. They had studio space, music, gear, all of that stuff. So it was really the world was my oyster at that phase of my life.
Yeah. So why did they dissolve their MCN?
I don't actually know the exact reasoning. I just think they had some like internal pivots in their goals. They still are doing some cool like social media relaunches. They've had a partnership with TikTok, which was awesome to see. They have so much amazing archival footage just from their years and years of interviews, which is so cool. So I don't know the exact actually answer to that, but I know they just had some different
goals. Yeah, I do feel like the prevalence of MCNs it's a lot less now than it was several years ago.
Totally.
Like I feel like what was that one? It was like Styles.
Style Hall,
Yeah. I mean that one like I feel like everyone was a part of that. I don't actually to be honest now that you mention it, I'm like are they even around anymore or like, I
I
just
was gonna ask you, do you find a lot of YouTubers that you work with or
not
talk to, are they still signed to MCNs? Is that a thing?
there's still some that are. I know that BBTV is out there. I don't know what's going on with them, to be honest. But I do not hear nearly as many people saying they're part of an MCN. I run a bunch of channels, and none of them are part of MCNs. The people that I coach, I coach a whole bunch of YouTubers, and a lot of them aren't. There's a few. That's just said BBTV is one that I know of, but that's about it. So okay, so then that the MCN dissolved. How did things change for you at that point in time? And that wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, at that point, I think the biggest shift maybe was when COVID hit, because at the time I was recording podcast stuff in studio. We had certain talent interviews that were happening in the actual Bell Media studios. So obviously not being able to go in person, they had it closed down for at least a good year and a half. I think, I don't even know if now it's operating at full capacity. But here in Toronto, we had we had the longest lockdowns in North America. So things were quite stagnant for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like at the time, honestly, when it dissolved, I had felt like I had already had a year and a half of being not removed from it, because obviously I still had communication with my manager on that team and still had, the resources to access them if I needed to. But at that point, I felt like it wasn't like that's when I had the break from being in studio every single week and seeing the team every week. So it didn't feel that dramatic at the time. It honestly kind of felt like a natural kind of time for it to happen. So yeah, it didn't seem too shocking on my end.
Yeah. Probably made sense. So, you've been on YouTube for quite some time in the beauty space. How do you keep your channel fresh or continue to come up with new video ideas?
That's a good question. Yeah, no, I've definitely had my waves of being like, oh my gosh, am I just being too formulaic or going through the motions? And I think that's normal with anything creative, especially when on YouTube, the expected output is at least once a week, or else you're scared into thinking that your channel is going to die and people will forget about you. So, I mean, I've been posting, if I think back, like if I was posting, I think my first year I must have posted 150 videos. At this point, I don't even know how many videos my channel has. But the output is so insane. And then I was lucky at that time, obviously, at the beginning days, I didn't have the stress of paying bills. I was living at home still, which was a huge blessing and privilege. And I think a lot of the reason why I was able to even be successful, because I was able to have that trial and error in a safety kind of comfort zone, which it was a huge blessing. And I don't know if I could have done that if I was, say, to start now living on my, bills to pay and things like that. But yeah, so I've gone through different waves of it. Honestly, it's funny. TikTok has really re-inspired me and really re-excited me about social media content. Something about the platform, it just feels different and has even kind of reignited, I feel like, the way that I approach my YouTube videos. And I feel like so much short form content, whether it be shorts on YouTube, I've been able to find a lot of success recently with that, and creating Instagram Reels, TikToks, obviously. That's kind of what's made me feel more excited. So that way I bread and butter standard weekly YouTube content that I know will perform and I know that my audience wants to see, but then I can kind of experiment and be a bit more flexible with the short form content, just because for me the stakes feel much lower in a good way. Most of the time I'm filming it on my iPhone live in the moment. I'm not even going into Final Cut or doing any editing. So it feels much more quick and snappy, and I can just test out a new idea, and it's not like I wasted a full day filming and then sending it to my editor and like going through this whole process. So that for me has been probably the most exciting thing lately, and I feel like there's so much also inspiration, new creators, and just I feel like refresh the whole system in the best way.
Yeah, I did notice on your channel that you've been doing a lot of shorts.
Yeah.
So are these pieces of content that you had on TikTok that you brought over to shorts, because you mentioned TikTok?
Yeah, some of them. I'd say most of them are videos that either got posted on Instagram Reels or TikTok first. I mean, it depends. Like it's not necessarily like anyone was specifically only for one platform. But I just made the 60-second videos knowing, okay, I can post it on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok. Certain videos, like there's certain videos on TikTok that I wouldn't repost to YouTube because it's just not the right culture fit yet, or maybe I just don't think it really makes as much sense. I feel like there's a lot more freedom and room to experiment and kind of jump into different genres on TikTok. Whereas on YouTube, I still kind of have a certain standard. I want it to fall somewhere in the beauty lifestyle category, but again, lifestyle is such a broad category, so yeah, it depends. It totally depends video to video.
Yeah. And so you're still doing your long form video once a week, and then how many shorts are you doing now on YouTube?
So I'm trying to post once a week now on YouTube, and probably at least 2 shorts a week. But there was a certain time I actually took a chunk of time off over December to January. I took a good 30 days off, and I say that because I was still posting Instagram Reel and TikTok videos every single day, and then that would get reposted onto my YouTube channel. So I had no long form videos going out, but then I was doing a bunch of shorts. So it kind of depends. It's been something I'm experimenting with. Even I think we had the YouTube Shorts launch later here in Canada than in the States. So I feel like I'm still kind of getting my footing and seeing what my audience likes. But I am noticing that a lot of my non-subscribers are watching the shorts, whereas my people who are subscribed are watching the long form. So shorts are better for reaching a new audience, maybe getting the viral video in, but I find the YouTube, it's not changing the long form video.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a channel that I manage, and we grew our channel to like we're at like 300 something thousand subscribers in like a year and a half.
Oh, that's awesome.
With a lot of shorts. And so, but then it's the challenge of, okay, well, building up that base audience for long form videos. So there's different algorithms involved, and I feel like it's different audiences as well. And I think a lot of creators, and it sounds like you might be going through this too, are trying to figure out this balance between not just like the content creation of the short form and long form, but like your whole channel just growth and management and your audience. It's like, I do feel like it's a different audience that's kind of watching shorts than watching long form. What is your take on that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It was funny. I was actually in a YouTube kind of short session with other creators.
I've been on those sessions. Yeah.
And it's interesting. Someone kind of brought up the question of, should you be making your own channel just for shorts? And I've had some friends who've had success doing that. And it kind of reminds me of back in the day. I don't know if you remember when everyone would have a vlog channel and then a main channel.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time when that was the thing, I was very much so like, I want it all on one channel. I want to be able to have the flexibility to have a more vloggy, less edited, but then still be able to do a highly produced and edited editorial makeup look. So I made the choice back then to keep everything on one channel, which at the time I was grateful for. But now it feels like that same question is coming up where it's like, oh, should I just be reposting every single TikTok, making a whole separate channel just for shorts? But then part of me, then it gets too complicated. I'm like, then I need to get someone else on board to help manage that. So right now, I'm it all in one place. But it is interesting. I'm observing and seeing what other people are doing, and it's like anything. Some people have success doing that. Some people like to keep it all on one. So right now it feels right to keep it all on one. Do you see a trend with certain people you work with? Like, is there the separate channel that's better?
It's funny because I've been on those calls too, and I feel like that question comes up a lot, and I don't think that even YouTube knows like the answer to it because I mean, personally, no, I don't see people doing separate channels. And personally, it's like, why would you, in a way? It's like, I guess, to me, the whole point of shorts is for that exposure to get you more people to almost like watch your long form videos, because that's really where you make the money on YouTube, both from like an AdSense perspective, affiliate perspective. I mean, I don't know, brands are obviously on TikTok, they're doing a lot of brand deals and stuff too. So that's different for the brand deals.
Right.
But it's kind of like, I've not yet seen, I mean, I have seen people do the separate channels, but not that many.
I had a bit of a fear I didn't want to dilute my main channel. And if people were here for a certain quality of content and then it's edited, highly produced videos, I didn't want to dilute it with more, not younger videos, but they feel a bit more off
juvenile.
The cuff.
Yeah.
So
that is a fear that a lot of people have, and they actually use that word dilute. I actually think, though, that YouTube, I mean, they've kind of hinted at it in some of those sessions, but I do think that they're probably going to come out with a way to organize your channel to kind of separate the shorts.
That's what I hate, how it's all on the same page.
Same
it
here.
looks weird to me. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, and same thing even with like the analytics, right? Because like when I'm in there in the analytics, I'm like trying to kind of like really analyze how the long form is doing compared to short form, and you really can't, because in our shorts channel, we upload like almost daily, and some are short, some are long form, and it's like trying to decipher it as somebody that's what I do, is I analyze analytics all day, every day for my clients. And it's like, that's the one thing that I've even mentioned it in those sessions. And it sounds like they are going to be coming out with that. And so I feel like, personally, I feel like doing a separate channel is kind of like jumping the gun in a way before we really see what's really happening. I think shorts is still, I think YouTube itself is still figuring out shorts.
Yeah.
But, and obviously as creators, we're all figuring out the shorts, but
okay, well, that's good to know. I have professional stamp of approval. Keep it all on one channel for now, at least. For now, at least. I feel like, I mean, kind of like the same thing, going back to like, you know, when you have some of that vlog content, aren't you glad now that you just kind of kept it all on one channel? Totally.
Right?
That's the thing. I look back and I go, because I hear friends now who are like, oh, I hate that I did a vlog channel. I have to kind of, because you still want that video footage, then you have to either re-upload.
Yeah. Or if one of those video ends up going like crazy viral and you're like, God, I wish it was on my main channel. Yes. Right? Yeah. So
is too. It's the video that you never expect to go viral, or you didn't do best practices in any ways. That's the video that takes off, and you're like, I don't understand anything anymore. I hate the internet.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's like, is that, and that's it. That's the same thing for shorts. I don't know if you've noticed this. It's like, shorts is like a numbers game. It's like you can upload a ton of them, and then like you just like, some will flop and some will do well. You know, I mean, yes, there's definitely specific analytics that I look for that will help me kind of determine like, okay, looks like, you know, this is like, I have a whole spreadsheet of like, all right, this is the type of retention I'm looking for, that whole thing, right? So like there is some analytics, but it's less than with long form videos, because long form videos, you also take into consideration that click-through rate, and with shorts, it's not there the same way. So how do you determine what kind of shorts to create from a strategic standpoint and uploading onto your channel?
Yeah, that's a good question. So TikTok, I feel very lucky that mentally it's kind of in a separate category, that I let that kind of feel like fun, whatever feels authentic and organic in the moment, what I want to film. I kind of put no pressure on that. Of course, if I have brand partnerships, that's separate, but the overall theme is whatever feels fun, whatever feels right, whatever I'm actively interested in or want to film about, or I see a trend or whatever. YouTube, I definitely pull the more curated videos off of that, whether it be something that was just shot a little more intentionally, that has, I still like a certain level of polish to it. In my brain, I always like, the way that I think of my YouTube channel, as I think of that as my portfolio or my resume of like the best of the best stuff. The TikTok's a bit more of like, I was going to say like a trash bin. That's like you'll see some weird fun videos. I might just film something random.
I can't get into TikTok personally. Like there's so much on there, and just watching. Well, also my whole life is YouTube. So I'm on YouTube all day, every day. All my clients are YouTube. It's like, and if I'm watching content, it better be on YouTube, because that's my world, you know. But I mean,
I used to be YouTube everything. I wouldn't even watch TV. Like YouTube was my 100% entertainment, and I still do spend a lot of time on YouTube. But I have to say, TikTok has been my like app of leisure to just consume new content. I find as a consumer as well, it makes me want to buy more than any other platform. So I definitely am very in tune to it. It is hard though, because for a long time, I always self-identified as a YouTuber. Yeah. Whereas now I think the title for a while it was influencer, which that always felt a bit weird to call myself an influencer. Now I feel like it's more content creator, which is more all-encompassing, which feels a bit better. But for a while, it felt weird to, like, I'm at the point now where my TikTok numbers are almost surpassing my YouTube numbers. And so it's like, oh, am I a TikToker now? Like, that doesn't seem right, because for so long I've always identified as a YouTuber. But I'm always also someone who's open to change and the evolution of things. And I think YouTube will always be around. I mean, the numbers of people who are on it and viewing, it's just incomparable still to any other video platform. Although obviously TikTok has been a huge point of conversation for brands and consumers over the past few years especially. I'm definitely excited and want to be up to date with the platforms. I'm also very intrigued. They just launched a 10-minute video upload feature, which
on TikTok?
Yeah, so that is interesting. I still want to be in the loop of it all, but as a consumer, I love it and I enjoy it so much.
Yeah. That's interesting. So what would you say, that was actually my next question. It sounds like you've got TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. What is Well, a couple questions. So what do you feel is the platform you put the most time towards? And from a revenue standpoint, like what percentage of your overall revenue is coming from each platform? Or is it even kind of hard to even tell?
Well, no, there's definitely been a huge spike to brand partners wanting specific sponsored content on TikTok. That has been pretty massive over the past year. I would say I feel like it took about a year for people to get on board and to fully want to commit to investing money on that platform. Lately, I've been doing a ton of TikTok sponsorships. Instagram, I honestly would say the past 2 years, Instagram has probably won in terms of brand partnerships revenue. YouTube obviously is great though because you have that consistent AdSense every month.
AdSense, yeah.
Which obviously is great, but I feel like there hasn't been as much brand partner commitment the way that it used to be like 4 or 5 years ago. I feel like even the culture of like ads or ad reads is so different. Like on podcasts or YouTube video podcasts, we're so much more used to like literally someone just reading a script, whereas maybe 5 years ago, at least in the beauty kind of guru community, it was like, okay, integrate this product into your morning routine in a super organic way. But then it almost felt a bit, people thought you were being sneaky about it. It was this whole different approach to it. Whereas it's so interesting now to see the culture of a lot of ad reads on YouTube be hard cut, different outfit, different backdrop. This video is brought to you by so-and-so. So it's kind of cool to see how integrations have evolved over the last 8 years of me being on the platform.
Yeah, I hear so many different things. I asked that question too about like, where are people seeing that they're getting more brand deals? Yeah. Because I've heard there's a while that people are saying, yeah, TikTok is really taking off. And then just recently I had a couple people tell me, actually, I feel like, TikTok brand partnerships are not what they used to be, and it's more about YouTube now. Yeah. So I hear different things. I mean, I talk to so many creators, and the thing is, though, everybody has their own experience. Because for you, maybe your TikTok is just like going like crazy right now and blowing up, and like that's where you're finding people. Maybe for other people, like, so I think it's so situational, and it just like depends on the content and the creator and where they're at and all that. But like, it does seem though like TikTok is moved up as a contender up there with YouTube for creators, and obviously that's why YouTube has created their shorts, because they know that short form content is here and is here to stay.
Totally.
So,
for sure.
All right, Jaclyn, we're nearing the end of the interview. And I feel like I could talk to you forever about this stuff.
I know. I was like, wait, we're near the end.
I know. But this last part is the same questions that I asked everybody that has come onto the show. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. First question is, what is your number one struggle with YouTube?
Personal, I don't want to say boundaries, but maybe like work-life balance, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same story you hear everyone say, but it really is true. You kind of never turn off, and before I go to bed, and I try to set boundaries, but still you fall into the habit. Before you go to bed, I'm going to, quickly reply to this email, get that off my plate, start replying to some comments. I'm honestly thinking about it 24/7, which is great because it's my passion and it's my job and I'm all in. But then there's a point where you're like, okay, I need to be a human. Not everything. The internet isn't the end all be all. So having boundaries, I've been pretty good about at least taking a Sunday off. I used to be good about Saturday, Sunday, but lately there's just been too much to do that I've had to work on Sundays. On Saturdays. But I at least try to take one day off. The rest of my screen time, and it's very based around the work that's at hand. I think especially too inherently when you have a job that the more hours you put in, the more output you can have, which can equal more revenue or more opportunity or more success, or you're just on a good wave. It's hard to say, no, I'm going to just be on this vacation and not make a vlog out of it. Like, it's kind of sad in a way, but it's also like you're art and you don't want to miss an opportunity. So I do find it hard to sometimes find those healthy boundaries. Yeah,
and you're someone that's been doing this for almost 10 years and you're still dealing with it.
Well, and that's the hard thing. It's like I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad I have so much footage like of me growing up. So it's like I don't want to cut back on it, but I guess actually one healthy thing is that I have, started to invest more in the team around me. I have a video editor now, so that kind of takes off some workload. But for a while, it was definitely getting to the point that it was like I wasn't sleeping enough, which when it gets into the point of your like bare human necessities, that's when you should probably look at it a bit more closely.
Yeah, I think that becomes a shift for a lot of creators when they start to build a team, because I'm that person that's on a lot of creators teams.
Yeah.
And it's like you really see for them, I love seeing kind of on the back end on how a lot of very successful YouTubers are kind of like managing the whole process. And it's like one thing I truly believe in. It's like there's going to get a point for every creator where they're going to have to build a team. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. Like you have to, even if it's like, just like you said, like an editor or someone to help with the thumbnails or someone like me that does all the, SEO stuff or whatever. It's kind of like.
It's hard though.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially creatives, have a very hard time.
Totally. And when you've been working, if you started on your own and you built this whole thing on your own, it's kind of almost an unhealthy like mind thing too, when you're like, oh, well, I've done it all on my own, so I'm the only one that can do this in this certain way, which is not true. Like I'm the only one that can be on camera as myself, but there can be someone else editing. Like it's not like my videos are so reliant on editing. I can pass that job off, but it is hard to let go of those certain aspects, both creatively and also, I think, just from the like knowing what works and then breaking that formula. You don't want to shake things up too much, right?
Yeah, and it costs money too. And
totally.
Then you're like, and then
it's an investment.
Yeah, it's an investment. But I mean, most of the people that I see doing it, it's like well worth it. And it's kind of just figuring out systems.
Totally. And this is the sign to anyone listening. If you've been thinking about it, don't put it off. It is time to do it. My only regret about hiring my video editor is that I did not hire her sooner. So, yes.
Everyone says that. Everyone says that. Like when it comes to like building a team, it's like, yeah. Like, I wish I had done it sooner. I mean, I think it can be scary. Totally. For me, my first hire was like back when I was just doing my podcast. It was before I started kind of this YouTube production business that I have now. And it's like, it was before I was even making money. But I realized I wouldn't have been able to transition into doing what I do now if I hadn't had made that first hire of someone who was basically doing all the tech side and editing side of my podcast. Because like we mentioned earlier, it's like, for me, I hate tech stuff. It was something I was doing. I had to do it, and it took time. But once I got that off that plate and I made that, it was almost like an investment in my future. I wasn't making any money off my podcast, but I knew for me to kind of get to point B or C, I had to make more time in my day, especially for me being a mom. It's like I needed that time back to be able to focus and shift to other areas that I knew I really wanted to do. And I had to take that leap of faith. And I think for a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm not making money yet, but it's like, well, or if I'm only making a little bit. And that's what you said too, back to like, you were very fortunate to be able to live at home and be able to kind of explore and do these types of things without having to make an income. I always tell people that if you have a job, keep that job.
Oh yeah.
While doing YouTube.
Yeah, don't be stupid about it.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we're not exactly going bankrupt over this.
Or if you're still living at home with your parents, keep living at home. Or if you got a spouse or someone that can support you or a family member, then take that up, because it's like trying to do YouTube and making that your income source is like it's very stressful.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's inherently risky. Like it is.
Yeah.
Like you're either wasting your time. Like it's a huge time commitment. So if you're not seeing the reward at the end, you're like, hey, well, I just wasted a year of or my Saturdays every single week. Like it's a lot on the line.
Yeah. If you were to start over right now, what would you do differently?
Oh, that is a good question. I've actually never thought about that. It's hard. It's like that stupid thing that everyone says. It's like, I wouldn't change anything because it's gotten me to where I am today.
Yeah.
Maybe, honestly, maybe getting on TikTok earlier. I remember I was doing a interview. It was when I was with Much still at the time. And I was doing an interview it was at the time called Musical.ly, which is when it was more like the lip sync app. And I did an interview with one of the huge Musical.ly stars at the time. And I was like, I obviously had researched it enough for the interview to kind of get it, but I wasn't in the world of Musical.ly yet. I didn't have the app. I just kind of topically knew about it. And I did have a weird thought. This would have been in end of 2017. Did it exist then? I think it was then. In 2017, 2018, somewhere in that world. And I remember I had this weird little voice that goes, should I try to get on this? Like, is it embarrassing? Is it like too weird for me? Am I too old for it? And then, I mean, obviously fast forward 2-3 years later, TikTok is the thing. Mm-hmm. And again, I still feel fortunate for the time that I got on TikTok. It was that sweet spot that I was able to grow really quickly. I think my first video on TikTok got 1 million views overnight. Like I was still in that really amazing time of TikTok. But I always think, oh, if I only got on it earlier when it was Musical.ly, like would that have changed things?
Yeah.
So I always look at my career, and again, it's a blessing and a curse. It's so easy to look at other people's careers that like kind of shoot up overnight, and you're like, whoa, I've been doing this for so long and I never had that crazy overnight like game changer. And again, of course, I've had some viral videos here and there, but my growth has always been slow and steady. And it's funny, it's something my mom always said to me when I was young. She's like, everything's a roller coaster ride. Wouldn't you want it slow and steady versus highs and lows? Which is true. But it is interesting. It's hard to not get in your head about it and be like, oh, if I only did this, would that have made the snowball roll even faster, So
yeah,
you never
definitely. What is your favorite video that you've uploaded on your channel?
Ooh, okay. That's hard. So I have a playlist. I call it the best of playlist, which has some of my personal favorites, either videos that I've loved shooting, they make me feel good, they have great memories, or editing, or I just spend a ton of time. The first one that comes to mind is my robot special effect makeup video that I did.
And that was one of your viral videos.
Yes, yes. It ended up it performed really well. And at the time it was for a contest submission. I was in this makeup challenge, and it was just the time of that life. Like, I was so excited. I spent 15 hours with that specific makeup application, shooting, editing. It took over my world for a good 2 weeks straight. I was not sleeping, but I'm still so proud of that video. And I feel like artistry wise, I'm really happy with it. The video overall, I edited it myself, and that was like fully my little baby. So I love that one in terms of like makeup artistry. There's a video, it's called Primary Colors, and it was more of an editorial kind of makeup video that I did. It was inspired by the song that I loved, and I kind of edited it in the style of the music video. And I feel like creatively and editing-wise, I got to really explore and kind of challenge myself. So I'm proud of that for the edit that I did on that. And then there's also this video. It's called Mom, and it was my mom's birthday gift, like maybe 5 years ago now. She like hates being on camera, but she's also the best in the sense that she recorded so much baby footage of us and has like amazing, she's documented our lives, both my brother and my lives. So we always have so much good footage. So I don't know, she loves going through baby footage, and we would always watch it together. It's this like big nostalgic fun thing. So for her birthday one year, I edited together some of my favorite moments and just kind of, had this little message, and it was her birthday gift. She was so sweet. She's like, you can post it, you put all this work in, get some views on it. And she's not one to share things. So I was like, if you're okay with it. So I ended up posting it in the end, but that video is just like on a personal level, just it's one of those feel good videos for me,
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's amazing. What a wonderful gift to your mother.
Aw.
Have you ever wanted to just give up? What happened there, and how'd you get back on track?
You know what? No, I've definitely gotten to points of burnout where I'm like, I need to not look at YouTube for a good month straight.
Yeah.
And I normally, not that I should joke about this, but normally once a year around Christmas time, I have a bit of a breakdown. So my family, people that I work with, everyone kind of knows it is approaching Christmas. But this last Christmas, it didn't happen. I feel like it's just a busy time of year in terms of work, especially in the beauty industry. There's so many last minute, holiday things and brand partnerships that I sometimes don't want to say no to. It's my birthday around that time. It's just this whole personal and work thing that I just have a bit of a moment that I'm like, the end of the year, stress. So normally I hit burnout that time of year. Last year I didn't, because I was smarter and I tried to pre-shoot a lot of things. I knew I was taking a big chunk of time off this year, which was really good for me mentally. But yeah, other than the occasional maybe just breakdown and just like the stress that I put on myself because I want to be at a certain standard or working or having the output to a certain degree. Sometimes when I feel like I've let myself down, which is normal because I sometimes need breaks, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm a bit hard on myself, I think. But lately I've been pretty good. But there's never been a time when I was like fully like, delete it all, throw in the towel. So far. Maybe it's coming. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, let's hope not. What is your superpower that you think has led to your success?
So weird to like talk about yourself in that degree.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like I've always been genuinely myself, which I know is a bit like you roll your eyes. Everyone says that. Be yourself on YouTube. I feel like I've been able to find a really good balance between, the fun glam, the teachable moments, the educational makeup bits, but then also I have my like personal life that I share on there and vlog, and more intimate moments that I feel, whether it's just like me going through my acne struggles when I was 17 and going on Accutane, sharing videos that I never thought I would post publicly. I feel like I've always been able to kind of break down that barrier, and it's always meaningful when I meet, viewers walking in Toronto. They'll bump into me and they'll be like, oh my God, you are the reason I either went vegan, I watched all your videos about that, or you helped me learn how to deal with my acne or manage it better, like things like that always like, I was like, oh wow, you're a real person who saw that, like it's not just a number. So I would like to think that me sharing like my authentic self and not being guarded about that has been helpful. But I also think being able to like more on the business side of things and being able to work with so many amazing partners and have such an amazing, roster of like clients that have worked with me, I feel like being able to just kind of go out into the world and let my personality and natural enthusiasm of just meeting new people and exciting, new roles and opportunities. I feel like that's been really important too. Like I've always been eager to get myself out there, and I guess it's networking. At the time, it never felt that way because I was just young and just cold emailed everyone and just wanted to meet new people. And I think that's been really important too, business wise. But I've honestly always kind of let my intuition guide me, which I think has been helpful. And so far, I'm appreciative that it's felt natural.
That's awesome that you have so many of those relationships.
Yeah.
I think I found you. I can't remember how I always find people, but like I feel like your Lush tour.
Yeah.
I love that video of the Lush headquarters. Is that are they based out of Canada, Lush?
Yeah, so they're originally a UK founded company, but they have 2 factories here in Canada. So they have one in Vancouver, which I was fortunate enough to tour as well. They brought me there.
Cool.
And they have one just outside of Toronto. So I was the biggest Lush fan. I actually worked at Lush when I was 16, in that gap year before I started doing YouTube. So I just was obsessed with the brand. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm working here in the mall. So I just would make videos about it. And then I think Lush maybe found the video or saw a haul and then invited me in. And I couldn't believe they invited me in. I was like, I should be paying you to let me in here. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
And they had my genuine excitement for it. If you could have told me that would have been my first major viral video, I would have never thought about it that way. I just wanted to film it. I thought it was so cool, and I was just so excited and cutting bath bombs and bubble. It was just.
But it was
awesome.
so cool though. The actual kind of process behind it. I mean, obviously you have a great personality and you have a really great way with the shooting and the editing and the filmography. I don't even know is that a word, filmography? I don't even know. The filming, production, the production of it. Yeah. But just in it of itself, it was really fascinating to see, oh my gosh, how they did all those different bath bombs and it's all by hand, and these people that seem so enthusiastic and excited about being there. It was really cool video. Really cool.
I don't even claim it to anything that I did. I think just the experience was inherently cool and just shareable, and it could have been anyone that filmed it. Mine just happened to take off.
Well, I would give some credit to your abilities too. But it was really, really cool. Okay, last question. What is the number one piece of advice you would tell somebody who's just starting out on YouTube?
Oh, this is kind of not tangible and again kind of annoying advice maybe, but stop letting the outside noise or the other channels you're seeing dictate what your channel and content looks like.
Ooh, I like that.
I know, especially when I was 16, I didn't even necessarily know who I was at that stage, so I was looking to other beauty gurus that I admired to kind of, okay, this is how I should be on camera. This is how I should do these types of shots, which I think is important to have inspiration. And especially when you are learning, there is obviously, you want to be able to study other channels that you love. But I do look back and I was like, oh my gosh, I was trying to talk in a higher voice because I got a kind of a husky voice. And I talk really fast, and I would try to slow myself down and be more calm and light a candle. And of course it's part of self-discovery and growing up. So I wouldn't necessarily change it, but I was like, oh, I wish I was a bit more quirky and my weird zesty self that I am. But again, I think it might go hand in hand. Was it just me getting comfortable on YouTube, or was it me just growing up because I was 16 and a bit weird? I don't know. So that would be my advice. Honestly, just the internet also, I feel feeds off of uniqueness and quirkiness, and everyone's so sick and tired of seeing the same cookie cutter thing, and that's why we go to the internet, because we've had traditional TV and we've seen all that and we've been there and we've done that, so we want the more raw, unedited, relatable kind of stuff. So it's just I would always have a bit of a narrative or a voice in my head of what I should be doing. So just try to cut out that noise if you can, I guess.
Yeah, really cool.
That's tangible. I don't know if that's helpful.
No, I mean, I think it's great. It's all been great. Well, Jaclyn, thank you so much for coming on to the show. It was lovely meeting you and getting to know you and the behind the scenes of your YouTube channel. So for people that are listening and watching and they want to check you out, where can they find you?
So I'm Jaclyn Forbes everywhere pretty much, which is awesome. Nothing better than a consistent handle. But yeah, check me out on Instagram at Jaclyn Forbes, on TikTok at Jaclyn Forbes, and my YouTube channel is just Jaclyn Forbes as well. Yeah, it would mean the world.
Awesome, Jaclyn. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that interview and you learned a lot from it. Now, if you have a YouTube channel or considering starting a YouTube channel that you're serious about growing and you want the best of the best when it comes to personalized feedback, advice, and up-to-the-minute YouTube strategy, then consider my Zero to Influence YouTube Bootcamp for women. I have been running this bootcamp since 2018, and we have hundreds upon hundreds of very successful students that have gone through the program. And I can go on and on about the YouTube bootcamp, but I want you to hear it directly from some of the women themselves.
I feel so lucky that I got to do Erika's bootcamp.
Before I joined the bootcamp,
Before joining Erika's bootcamp,
my channel was all over the place. I didn't know what I was talking about.
I would hear people say that I need to find my why and my voice and my audience and understand my target audience, but I never felt like I really understood what that meant.
Erika helped me come up with YouTube video ideas. She helped me with consistency. She helps me to interpret my analytics.
I started with 12,000 subscribers and now I have over 50,000 and it is growing rapidly.
My channel has grown almost 100,000 subscribers.
I definitely wouldn't have gotten to this place in such a short amount of time without Erika's bootcamp.
What makes Erika special is that she has been talking to and analyzing YouTube channels for years, and that has given her this bank of knowledge to pull from.
I'm constantly asking her questions about YouTube. I'm asking her advice about my YouTube channel.
Taking the Zero to Influence YouTube Bootcamp was one of the best
decision I could have ever made for myself, for my channel, for my own personal growth as a human being. I could not be happier.
I love that it has reinvigorated me in such a beautiful way. So I am so happy that I've joined.
You're crazy not to hire her. Get on it. All right.